August 28, 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom took place here in Washington, D.C., and it culminated at the Lincoln Memorial. There were over 250,000 individuals who marched that morning, and there was a lot of speakers on the program, one of which was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Now, Dr. King was supposed to speak earlier in the program, but there was an issue with one of the younger speakers, John Lewis, who is the president of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He had a pretty fiery speech. At some point he referenced and said that if the South didn't change, they were going to have to march through the South the way Sherman marched through Georgia. Well, you can imagine, a lot of the older coordinators, including A. Philip Randolph, was like, son, you cannot say that. Please tone your speech down. And in honor of those guys, in respect to those guys, he ended up going behind the Lincoln Memorial and he changed his speech. The intent was for Dr. King to speak last, and he would be sort of like a unifying voice for all the other voices who spoke that morning. When Dr. King came to the podium, he started his speech 50 years ago. Why didn't he just simply say 1863 or 100 years ago? Because that 50 language sounds very similar to someone else's speech 47 years ago. He was using the same language that Lincoln used. What he was doing was tying in his argument with Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. He also mentioned the Constitution. He mentioned the Declaration of Independence. Why? Because he's tying his argument in with documents that we consider to be critical in U.S. history. He talked about a lot of things, including the fact that the Americans had not been true to themselves. One of the most interesting things that I found out about Dr. King's speech is this. He was actually going to have a different ending. As a matter of fact, Dr. Wyatt T. Walker, who was on Doc's staff, said, Doc, we heard that ending about 20, 30 times. You need to change it. About 6 weeks before, he was at Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan, and he had a different speech, but the ending was still the same, this I Have a Dream theme. And the night before, August 27, 1963, he was at the Willard Hotel working on the ending of his I Have a Dream speech. The fact of the matter was, he was working on a different ending. But while he was speaking, and if you look at the video, you'll see that he's looking down at his notes, he's speaking to the people. But Mahalia Jackson was there. She sang on the program that day, and she had been in quite a few of Doc's programs. She starts saying, tell him about the dream, tell him about the dream. Listen, Doc was going to have it completely in. This would not have been known as the I Have a Dream speech. It would have been the March on Washington speech, or we're marching up to Zion, or the big payback or something, but it would not have been I Have a Dream. And yet he ends in the manner by which we know this as the I Have a Dream speech. He starts to talk about having this dream. Clarence Jones, who was Dr. King's speechwriter and attorney, turned to someone in the crowd and said, he's about to take them to church. You listen to the end of that speech, you'll realize Doc took us to church. Dr. Abernathy said that after that speech, everyone was feeling as if, civil rights was going to finally come to this country. He was excited about it. Doc, however, did not think that was one of his better speeches. But we know that as one of his better speeches. That was August 28th, 1963. This is John W. McCaskill, History Alive.